Hello everyone, my name is Salim and welcome to the Markets Breakdown Analysis for Tuesday, the 7th of November 2023. We'll be breaking down chart and show the exact zones where price will close both potential buys or close below for potential sells as well. So looking at the daily candle for Monday, the daily has been bullish, breaking above the Friday daily high already, breaking above the previous weekly high also, and barely forming no wick at the bottom. Now what's interesting here is the daily tapped into two daily resistances formed previously, which these two daily resistances are the targets for buys we've had on yesterday's analysis. Now we're looking on a weekly, and what's interesting here is price tapping into a rejection area on a weekly time frame. Now, since the daily now is retracing, the weekly hasn't formed the bottom wick. The question is, are we going to see another rejection on the weekly time frame for price to retrace, respect this rejection area, form a resistance and pull back? Or are we going to see maybe the weekly just retracing, forming a bottom wick, maybe retesting this previous daily resistance formed around 183.890, and then form a support and continue bullish? Now, more likely, the daily candle for Monday will be closing weak bullish, I'd say, with the rejection to the upside. And now to break down the chart and drop it down to the 4-hour time frame. And what we can see here is the most recent 4-hour support we've had was formed around 184.670. The most recent 4-hour resistance formed around 185.910. Drop it down to the hourly time frame, and now we have a new range on the hourly to adjust basically. So what we can see here is we have this recent 1-hour support formed around 185.150, a recent 1-hour resistance formed around 185.560. Dropping down to the 5-minute time frame, we have a same level of support, a resistance. Now we have a further up resistance, further away from the hourly. Looking at the 15-minute time frame, we can adjust this level of support again to 185.100, and then we have this 15-minute resistance around 185.390. So now to identify the no trade zone. So what we're gonna do here is, I would say for potential buys, what we could do is, let's have a look. Okay, so on the based on the hourly time frame, maybe what we could do is just to allow price some sort of a range for price to consolidate before breaking out the range. So what we can do here is we could look for potential buys maybe above this hourly. Let's have a look on the 5-minute time frame. Yeah, so the only problem here is the hourly looks good to look for potential buys above 185.570, but the 30-minute and the 50-minute time frame looks really messy. It doesn't really line up, but the anticipation here is to wait for price to break and close above this consolidation, a small consolidation that has been forming within the hourly time frame. So potential buys could be above 185.560, 570. Potential sells, however, what we can do here is, what do we see? Let's zoom out a little bit, dropping down to the hourly time frame. Now we have another hourly support around 185.020. Dropping down to the 30-minute time frame, we have this 30-minute support in here. Looking at the 50-minute time frame as well, we have this 50-minute support around 184.990. So I would say the potential sells could be below this 1-hour support, below 185.020, and this is going to be the no trade zone. And now to look for potential buys, and going back to the daily. So the first thing we can see here is the Monday daily candles retracing, forming a rejection, respecting this rejection area. So let's have a look again. So the monthly is retracing, the weekly, this is a weekly rejection area. So what we're going to do here, since the daily is retracing, rejecting an area, we're going to put a line to where the daily high was formed on Monday. Drop it down to the 4-hour time frame. Now we have a 4-hour resistance formed around 185.890. Dropping down to the hourly, that lines up with the hourly resistance. Looking at the 5-minute time frame, a slight adjustment to 185.920. Looking at the 15-minute time frame as well, that lines up as well. So I would say the second target for buys could, I'd say the first target for buys, could potentially be 185.920. I know we do have this 30-minute resistance in here, so the anticipation here is to wait for price to break and close above this hourly resistance during high volume time, and ideally is to monitor price, how price will react basically once price tap into these two 30-minute resistances on the left. And the second target for buys, now let's have a look again on the weekly. So the weekly, the next thing we can see here is we have this weekly rejection formed around 186.070. Drop it down to the daily. Now we have a daily resistance. Actually, let's have a look on the monthly. Yeah. So we have a daily resistance. That's around 186,580. And that's roughly around 67 pip range, dropping down to the 4 hour time frame. And looking on the left, and what do we see? What we can see here is we have this 4 hour resistance around 186,510. Drop it down to the hourly time frame. We can do another adjustment to this hourly resistance around 186,460. Looking at the 5-minute time frame, we have a similar level of resistance, and more likely will be the same on the 50-minute time frame. So I'd say the second target for buys could potentially, let's have a look again on the daily, could potentially be this hourly resistance formed around 186,470. And now to look for potential sells, and going back to the daily again. So the first thing we can see here, and the first thing we can anticipate, since the daily and the weekly is still bullish, we can anticipate for price to pull back to retest an area before we can see price continuing bullish. Now the first thing we can see here is on the monthly, we have this previous monthly resistance formed around 184,340. So now possibly this monthly candle could retrace to retest this previous monthly resistance before the continuation to the upside. Now zooming in and dropping down to the weekly, we have a weekly high here. Let's have a look on a daily time frame. So on the daily, again, clean traffic. Looking at the 4 hour time frame, clean traffic. Looking at the hourly, still clean traffic. And then we have on the hourly, we have this. Actually, we have this hourly support, and we can't ignore this one. Actually, we have this 4 hour support as well that was formed recently. So potentially, I would say the first target for sells could potentially be this 4 hour support formed around 184,670. The second target for sells, now this could potentially be the monthly resistance formed back in September 2023 around 184,340.
Dominion Markets, your trading sanctuary.